Okay, guys, so I have this little sticky note, this dumpster fire sticky note here with questions. So in my quest for coming up with video ideas, I was listening to a video earlier and it was like fat versus fit. If you've ever seen those videos where it's like people of like two different categories and they have to like see if they relate on things or debate each other on different questions or takes or whatever. I thought it'd be a good idea if I took the questions that were asked and kind of gave my take. Just because I lost 100 pounds and I grew up fat. So I kind of have been on both ends of the spectrum. Not that like I'm super lean or anything or super in shape now, but I've kind of lived two lives in a sense. I have fat Raymond and then Zaddy Raymond. Got the two. But so we're going to go down this line or down this thing while we're on our way to the gym. So, first one, your physique is in your control. So, do I agree or disagree with that statement? I'm going to say agree. Your physique is in your control. So, there are certainly genetic factors that apply. So, things like your height, your eye color, hair, those are like the obvious ones that are due to our genetics. Now, I don't think that anybody is naturally super obese genetically. You have to consume food and have you have to consume excess food in order to gain weight. And in order to continue to gain weight, you can't be burning as many calories as you're consuming. So if you increase the amount that you exercise or your calorie expenditure and either decrease or, maybe eating at maintenance calories, you will lose weight. Just like if you ate more calories, you would gain weight. So your physique is like totally something that is in your control. And honestly, like my mom was overweight most of her life, if not all of her life. And that's something common that I hear and see is like, it's easy to say that it's not in our control, because if we say that our physique is not in our control, then we are absolving ourselves from all accountability for changing that. And I don't think that it is society's fault that we've come to that conclusion. I think that, the more and more things that we attribute to external forces and that are out of our control, we wound up being in control of very, very little. And then most of our problems we never solve or fix because we say that they're out of our control. Obesity is definitely within someone's control. Your physique is in your control. Even if you have a propensity to gain more weight or maybe you pack on weight easier, okay, well then you need to be more mindful about that when you do eat. So your genetics are a component, but you also need the behavioral component as well to either gain weight or lose weight. So long story short, TLDR, it's totally in your control. Number 2, I have struggled with body image issues regardless of my size. And I will say that is certainly true. So largely for most of my life, when looking in the mirror, I just felt bad about myself. Again, I was overweight, but I was one of those people that I carried it kind of better. So you wouldn't think that I was I remember telling people that I was 300 pounds. And it was what? There's no way. They could have been being nice. Who knows? But just the way that I carried that excess weight, it wasn't all in one area. It wasn't all belly it wasn't all in a place that's super noticeable. It was just kind of all over. I definitely felt self-conscious. I would wear a shirt to go swimming and wore bigger clothing, and just felt kind of ashamed of myself, especially because my mom would tell me don't ever get fat, Raymond, and fat was such a bad thing in my house. It was also confusing because you hear how bad being fat is when you grow up that way, and then you yourself are sitting here and you're overweight. It kind of fucks with your head a little bit, especially as a kid. You don't really know any better. And I mean, I'll even say now I've lost the weight, but I still have loose skin and stretch marks, and those are things that will probably never go away. And I don't love it, but I would much rather have this alternative than to be 100 pounds heavier and completely hating the way I look. Now, like, I'm pretty pleased and like proud of myself, but there still are things that I wish could change, you know? But regardless, I think that I'm not totally happy, but I'm happier now than I have been before. So that's what I would say for that one. 3, thin privilege is real. Okay, so thin privilege, you might more commonly be known as pretty privilege, also tied to the halo effect. I do think that it is real to a degree, because I will say, yes, like when I lost weight, people started looking at me differently. And like when I was more muscular, people start looking at me differently. And if you're perceived as more attractive, like people are just generally more likely to notice you and are nicer to you. And I do think that, so with the halo effect, we often view attractive people as in like an overly positive light. So kind of like they can't do no wrong. This actually trips up a lot of guys, especially ones that don't have a lot of experience talking to girls, maybe never had a girlfriend, and you find yourself attracted to some girl. You wind up putting her on such a pedestal, thinking that she's an angel, when I can assure you she isn't. But we think that she's like this angelic creature, but the reality is she's not. She's a flawed human, just like all of us. We only put her on that pedestal because of our attraction to her. Okay, so it's not has little to do with her. It has more to do with what we are perceiving. So we tend to view people that are attractive or that we are attracted to favorably. And we could even do this in spite of, like, that person could have done some shitty things, or maybe they're kind of an asshole. You know, but we'll view those things, we'll make excuses for it, and we'll just kind of rationalize the idea that they are not that way because it fits our narrative that they are that way, because we are viewing them in a positive light. So long story on that one is, yes, I do think it is a real thing. I don't think it makes as big of a difference as people might think, but I do think it exists. Okay, you can be healthy at any size. So this one I will disagree with. So you could have healthier behaviors, or it could be practicing healthy habits at any size. But fundamentally, if you have a bunch of excess body fat, or you are very overweight or underweight, that is not good for your body. Now, there are certainly some people that might have a higher body fat percentage, maybe, you know, from the external seem out of shape, but as far as blood work and their health markers and everything, they're good, right? That could certainly happen. That is not the norm. So that is not everybody. People like to just look at the extremes and they think that is the norm. It is very much not the norm. For most people, carrying excess weight, excess body fat, and again, like with bodybuilders, holy shit, that man just cut across 4 lanes of traffic. Dude, these people, man, smooth brain over there. But these bodybuilders that get so huge, like they can like suffer from sleep apnea, which can shave years off your life. You stop breathing in your sleep. It's because of all that extra weight that you got on your body. You know, it could be hard on your circulatory system. If you're underweight, then your body's not getting the nutrients that it needs, and you're starving it. That, yes, you are not fat, but that's not healthy either. So at any size, no, I can't say that you could be healthy at any size. But can you start becoming healthier at any size? Yes, you can. 5, I have struggled in my dating history because of my size. I would say yes, but this has more to do with my own level of confidence and self-esteem with myself. So I told you how I felt before. So if I have low self-esteem and I'm not super confident, that is definitely going to affect my dating life, where it might be like an any port in a storm kind of situation, where you wind up just latching on to whatever attention you get, because you don't know if you're ever going to get that again, where someone liking you seems like a fluke. And when you're in that mindset, you're always worried about that person leaving, because you're not secure enough within yourself that you have something to offer, that someone can actually love you and care about you and whatnot, that you are worthy. If your confidence and self-worth is tied to your body image, it certainly can cause a problem with your dating life. And it did for me. As I got older, that went away more and more. So I became less affected by that, more willing to let people go that really weren't good for me, or just not really thinking that someone's going to leave me because of my body or weight or anything like that. I just become more secure in myself. So that's kind of helped with that. But I do relate to that question because it has impacted me before, probably for the majority of my life, if I'm being honest, because I've only been more in shape within the past couple of years. I only started lifting, seriously lifting consistently in the gym was 22. I think July of 22. So it really hasn't been that long. But I will say again, it was well worth it. All right, last one. I would not want to change my size. So I can't say that that's true. I would like to cut down more body fat, but I also don't want to chase something that's not realistic as far as living, day-to-day living. For instance, if I was wanting to walk around at 5% body fat all the time, as a natural lifter, that's just not realistic. I'm going to feel terrible. I'm going to have no sex drive. I'm going to, not feel motivated. I'm going to be hungry. I'm just going to feel like shit. So that's not super practical, because guess what? Life is really hard when you feel like shit every day. So that's not something that I'm necessarily shooting for. But I do think that I could stand to lose some more body fat, that's for sure. I think it would be cool to be a little bit bigger, but I'm not disappointed with my size now. So I think if I kept the same size, but trim more body fat, I think that is ideal. I don't really have a desire to be super massive, and I also understand that I won't be super massive unless I hop on drugs. So, again, with everything fitness related, I'm trying to be realistic and have realistic expectations. Therefore, I'm not disappointed not that I'm not disappointed, but I'm able to approach things in a more healthy manner. So I'm not doing these extreme workouts, working out 7 days a week, doing an hour of cardio every day and all this shit because I gotta burn. It's not something that I want to obsess over. So, and extreme goals, you kind of gotta obsess a little bit if you want to hit them. So I would say that, if I would not want to change my size, then I would say I would like to change my size, but not to be extreme. So anyhow, I'm curious to what you would say to any of those questions. If you want to leave a comment below, I think that would be cool. Maybe you feel differently. Maybe you have a perspective that I don't know. I mean, I only have my own perspective and what other people have told me, be that as it may. But I'm curious to know what you guys would think. Maybe we'll do another video like this in the future if this one, does well. I kind of like this little bit more structure to it, and things seem to flow pretty well. So I'm happy. Hopefully you're happy. We're almost at the gym, so we're going to get into it in a minute. Remember to stay beautiful and that you are loved, and I will see you in the next one, buddy. Peace.